Hello and welcome to Plymouth Regional High School for today's matchup between Plymouth and Winnisquam. My name is Joey LeBlanc. I am joined here by Aaron Komu. I'm sorry for butchering your name.
That's all right. That's all right.
Our resident wrestling expert here for the fight is going to be giving the match. He's going to be giving you a lot of in-depth analysis of what you're about to see out here. And from what you've been telling me before this broadcast, this is going to be a very close match out here.
Yeah, I anticipate this is going to be a really competitive meet tonight. Winnisquam is a good program. They've been around for as long as Plymouth has. Of course, Randy Cleary, Todd Austin have been coaching here together for over 15 years. I think Randy's in over 20 years as a coach here, and so there's a lot of history with both of these teams, and they're both well coached, well prepared, and I suspect we're going to have some great matchups.
And you can just tell that from the showing that both these teams have with their full rosters. We don't have any forfeits in this meet today. It's going to make for a really exciting night for everyone. You're going to have a lot of fans here cheering the kids out there on the mat, and it should be really exciting. I know we were talking a little bit before about this center light here above the center, and you wrestled here back in the 80s, and that was a big deal. And this was one of the only places that had one. Now everyone seems to have one, and it definitely adds to the whole atmosphere of this place. It's a lot better to come here in person and see the fights, but I'm sure people watching on camera, it's going to be just as well back at home. But it's really cool. I've never actually been to a match like this before. Very excited for it, and what's something to look for when you have two fighters that are two wrestlers that are so closely matched in skill out here. We're going to see that a lot today. How do you choose who's going to win that fight?
Well, a lot of it's going to come down to conditioning. Wrestling requires a tremendous amount of conditioning and endurance on the mat. And as we draw nearer to the end of the season, these athletes should be in peak condition on both sides. The coaches have worked them hard. And when two athletes are that close, skill-wise, strength-wise, it's going to come down to who has the best conditioning and who can wear the other opponent down in the end.
I'm very excited to see that, and just watching these guys warm up, they're all, seemingly it looks like they're all ready to go, excited, amped to get out here and get underway. Before the fight, we actually had a bunch of, what was going on with those little kids running around before the fight? Yeah, that's the Park and Rec program here in Plymouth that Randy and Todd host in the wintertime. And, it's a couple of nights a week. The Park and Rec kids, K through 4, come into the wrestling room, and after the varsity practice is over, the varsity wrestlers take an hour and coach them. And it's a treat usually once or twice a year to allow them to come here and wrestle on the mat under the light prior to a varsity match. So it's a feeder program. Yeah, that's awesome. I was watching before. I was very, very confused as to why they're here, and it's great to see that. I'm sure it builds that continuity with the program. The kids, it gets them excited for wrestling. Maybe when they get to high school, they'll be like, hey, I went and did that when I was a little kid. Now I want to go do it at high school, play around with the big boys out there, and I'm sure it helps out the program. As you can see, we have a very successful program here at Plymouth. Yeah, that's what sustains the program, is getting the youth involved. And if they start wrestling in K through 4 and they're interested in it, and it's a sport that they can excel at, then we have a program at the middle school for 5th grade through 8th grade for them to wrestle at, and then obviously they can come here to the high school. And the testament of it is the banner over there. You look at the wrestling banner, and they need 2 banners now because they have the amount of runner-up finishes or championship finishes. There's even a New England championship banner over there. And it's you look at some of the other programs here, and wrestling is definitely in the top 1 or 2 or 3 for success over the last 20 years, and it starts at that age group. Yeah, it's really awesome to see that. And I know when I was a kid, I didn't hear about wrestling until I got to high school, and it's cool to have that you have these different weight classes. You can be pretty much any body type, and you can be a wrestler. It's not going to be exclusive like that, where you have a small, skinnier kid. Hey, you can fight in a lower weight class than some of those higher up guys, and you're still going to have an equal competition on the other side. Yeah, that's just it. Somebody who might be a great baseball player or football player, soccer player, whatever, may not be a great wrestler, but wrestling is unique in the fact that you compete in an individual weight class. So you're right, you can be 106 pounds or you can be 285 pounds, and
and you can participate in this sport. You can't always do that in every sport, you know. If you're 106 pounds, you might not be able to be, you know, a football player. Or if you're 285 pounds, you might not be able to play soccer. But, you know, wrestling is a sport for every body type, every size, shape, every weight, you know.
Yeah. As someone that was a very, very small individual that tried to play football, I can attest to that. It's not very easy running up against someone that has, you know, 20, 30, sometimes even 40 pounds on you. They will run you over, you know, 9 times out of 10, and you can hold on for dear life. Maybe you tackle them, but either way, you look bad.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, I wish I got on here and tried some of this stuff out, and I'm very excited to see this meet today. And it is senior night, I believe, tonight as well. So they're going to highlight the seniors. We're going to have the whole senior, you know, ceremony for you guys before the start of this meet. Right now, it is just Plymouth warming up. And are there any matches tonight that you want to, that we should keep our eye on as some of like the premier matches?
Well, I know the 106-pound match should be exciting, and I say that only because the 106-pounder from Plymouth happens to be my son, Charles Como, and I've watched him wrestle the young man from Winnisquam a couple times, Michael Mitchell, and they're pretty evenly matched, and it should be a very exciting match, fast-paced, a lot of action. You know, there's several others in the lineup, but it depends. Sometimes when coaches are trying to win these dual meets, they might bump wrestlers up to another weight class. So you might be expecting 2 individuals to match up, but the other coach might think, well, you know what, we have a better chance sending our JV out in this weight and bumping our varsity guy up to the next weight to get the win. So we may not see all the matchups that we anticipated, you know.
All right, so it's like kind of like a chess match the way the coaches build their roster. And does one coach give the roster to the other coach and then they make the matchup, or how does that work?
Well, everybody weighs in, and both coaches are there to witness the weigh-in as to who they have in each weight class and how many wrestlers they have in each weight class, so they can kind of start to think, well, okay, is he gonna send this athlete out, or is he gonna send this athlete out at this weight, and try to get into the other coach's head, you know. And the other piece to it is that they flip for odds and evens before the match starts. So say you know, Plymouth wins, it gets odds, then, you know, every other time they have to send their wrestler out first. So the other team has an opportunity to see who they sent out before they send their wrestler out. So if they want to juggle wrestlers around that qualify, they can do that. And they switch every match so they each have an equal advantage.
That's really interesting. You know, coming here today, I thought, I don't really know exactly what coaching does, but, you know, besides the preparation for wrestling, but there's a heck of a lot more they do during game time, and, you know, that's good to see, good to hear, and I'm glad to have you here to explain it to everyone, because I don't think I would have been anywhere near as close to trying to do that.
There's a lot of strategy involved that a lot of folks don't realize, and Randy's an expert at it. You know, he really knows what he's doing. So
we're going to send it down to the PA now for starting lineups and senior ceremony.
Winnisquam Bears and your Plymouth Bobcats. We at Plymouth Regional High School and the NHIAA understand what an honor it is for student athletes to represent their schools and towns. Please let us be positive in every aspect of this meet, sportsmanship from the players, coaches, and fans. Positive cheering only, and respect by everyone is expected for the official work in tonight's meet. In case of an emergency, spectators are asked to leave the gym through the closest emergency exit. Emergency exits are located at each end of the gym. Before we begin tonight's meet, we would like to begin by honoring our seniors. Tonight will be the last home wrestling meet for 6 Plymouth Regional High School Bobcat wrestlers. Will the following seniors please come forward to the center of the mat? Captain Griffin Smith. Captain Nolan Farina. Captain Troy Johnson. Joe Collett. Alex Hamill. Ethan McDonald. And our manager, Shelby Cormier. These seniors have led this year's team to an 8-0 record this year. and a 4-year dual meet record of 49 wins and 3 losses, 2 state championships and 1 state runner-up finish in the last 3 years. We thank them for their dedication and commitment to keeping the Bobcat wrestling tradition alive, and we wish them luck the remainder of the season. Now let's meet tonight's wrestlers. At 106, for your Bobcats, Charlie Como. For Winnisquam, Michael Mitchell. 113 for your Bobcats, Jason McAllister. At 120 for your Bobcats, James Philbin. For Winnisquam, Hunter Finemore. At 126 for Plymouth, Joe Cleary. And for Winnisquam, Kenzie Borges. At 132 for the Bobcats, Joe Collett. And for Winnisquam, Mark Southerton. At 136 for your Bobcats, J.C. Gama. For Winnisquam, Mo Wrigley. 145 for the Bobcats, Hunter Lassard. And for the Bears, Cameron Roberts. 152 for the Bobcats, Griffin Smith. For Winnisquam, Kobe Bryan. At 160 for your Bobcats, Cole Johnston. For the Bears, Cohen Bordeaux. At 170 for the Bobcats, Alex Hamill. For Winnisquam, Damian Donahue. At 182 for Winnisquam, Brandon Marceau. $195 for the Bobcats, Troy Johnson. And for Winnisquam, Caden Remillard. At $220 for your Bobcats, Tracy Cristiano. And for the Bears, Derek Tremblay. And at heavyweight for the Bobcats, Ethan McDonald. And for Winnisquam, Todd Robinson. Your referee for tonight's match is Scott Kleinschrott. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise for our national anthem, performed tonight by Plymouth Regional High School's own Gretchen Dodge.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we
Well, here we are all set to start off, and the first match will be Griffin Smith and Cameron Roberts.
No, I think actually Hunter Lassard's going to come out for the Bobcats. If I heard the announcements right, it looks like Hunter's going to go 145, and then Griffin's going to go up to 152. But he will be facing the Cameron Roberts.
All right, yeah, thank you on that. So many fighters. And what's with this? I see this on the paper. The weight they're listed at, and we have the actual weight. So it can be a little bit differing on the day of the match?
Correct. You're actually given a 2-pound allowance as the season rolls on because it gets harder and more difficult for them to maintain their weight classes. So, but you have to record the actual weight at every meet. It has to be certified. So
that's understandable, reasonable. Here we go. We got both of them out there.
And Hunter Lassard is out there for the Bobcats. And Hunter last year was a Division III state champion for the Bobcats at 126, I believe, and was 5th at the meet of champions. So he's a talented wrestler. He's a junior, and I expect a great match out of him tonight.
We wish him luck. And I always hear, low man wins in football. That's the same thing in wrestling?
In certain positions, it can be whoever has the advantage. That way, but sometimes it's a height advantage too. When you're on top, you want to keep your hips up, and you want to have your hips over the other individual's hips. So sometimes a height advantage is better than being low. Depends on the position you're in the scramble. And here, the Winnisquam wrestler's in on a leg. Hunter was able to do what's considered like a monkey roll there and get out of it. But the Winnisquam wrestler made a nice shot on that leg and had it tight.
Yeah. A great job from Hunter, keeping his composure, not panicking. I'm sure it's very easy to panic with someone, starting to grab you in a hold like that.
Oh, yeah. And it looks like the Winnisquam wrestler was able to get in deep on that single leg again and then ultimately did a fireman's dump. And Hunter's able to scramble. And as you see there, he was able to get his hips elevated over the other individual's hips, and that's what got him the 2-point reversal there. So.
And they just went too far off the mat, so they reset. No penalties for either side. But since Hunter had pushed Cameron off, now Hunter's on top of the
right. He was able to obtain the reverse prior to going out of bounds, and then once they went out of bounds, they restart. So Hunter's in the top position here, and he's got what's called a leg ride in there, and he's trying to work power half on the individual to try and turn him. He's going to be called there for a flagrant foul. It was called a crossface, and it was just a little too aggressive across the face there, and rightfully so.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I've seen that position in UFC, and usually they're pounded on the guy down there.
Right.
Wrestling, and there's a lot of wrestling you see in that, and that's why I was excited to come out here and see this today, because it's basically half the same stuff, only they're not, bashing in each other's brains, which you don't want anyone to really have to do.
Cameron was able to get a 1-point escape there, and he actually leads the match. But Hunter just threw what's called a headlock, and he's got the 2 points, and he'll obtain some back points here if he can keep them at a 45-degree angle. As long as Hunter's feet are inbounds, he can pin the individual, even though the individual's shoulders are out of bounds.
And he knows where he is out there. He's keeping his composure. He's doing great right now.
Yeah, and he secured the pin, and that's what I would have expected out of Hunter. I thought the match started a little slow for him, but, ultimately he came up with the pin there for the Bobcats.
And Hunter with first win of the day for the Bobcats. A great start out here on senior night to start off with the win. You want to get that momentum. In a wrestling meet like this, does momentum build if you're winning many matches in a row?
Oh, absolutely. It's contagious, If, one individual on your team secures a pin like that gets your teammates into it, and it pumps them up, and the crowd gets into it, and it definitely has an effect on how well the rest of the kids wrestle. And that's a great way to start the night.
We have now Griffin Smith and Kobe Brand out here, and Smith is one of the fighters one of the wrestlers listed at 145. He's up here now at 152 for this match.
Right. This was probably strategic. This young man for Winnisquam is a very talented wrestler. He's been around a while. He's very schooled. So they probably bumped the senior captain up to try and get a win, or to put their best foot forward and not give up a pin against a great wrestler to keep the match close. So ultimately, it's an individual sport, but at the end of the meet, it's a team score involved. So.
And both of them having a lot of trouble, bringing the other one to the ground. It looked like a hand fight right now, trying to get your hands in the right position.
Yeah, and you can see here that because Hunter Griffin has moved up a weight class, he definitely appears a little outsized by the Winnisquam wrestler. To me, the Winnisquam wrestler looks like a 152-pounder, and Griffin looks more like a 45-pounder. And but, like I said, Griffin's in great shape. He's been wrestling a while, so this should be exciting.
You don't want to, be led in the wrong way, because you look at Griffin, he's got smaller arms than the other guy, but he's got a lot of power in those legs, and he can drive very well with them. Yeah,
the other advantage that Griffin has is the leverage. There's a lot of leverage involved in wrestling, and being, a little bit taller, a little more lanky, sometimes the leverage plays a big piece in wrestling too. So far, the two of them have just almost made it through the first period without any points scored. And it looks like
went for a takedown.
That was a great scramble there. Both wrestlers doing their best not to give up any points. And this is going to end first period with no points scored by either wrestler.
What a great first period. Both of them, you really can't pick a winner out of that, the way that both of them battled. No one let up the entire first section there.
Absolutely, and neither one of them are going to give up. Like I said, I've watched them both wrestle for a long time, and they're both hungry, and they're going to put their best foot forward in this match. And
now, do they just switch off for these next two periods? Who starts?
The ref flipped a coin. It's green on one side, red on the other, and depending on which wrestler's wearing the green anklet and which one's wearing the red one, whoever wins the toss gets choice. Now that wrestler can defer that choice to the third period if they want, and that's what the Winnisquam wrestler did. He won the toss, but then he deferred to us, and we chose down because that's probably the best opportunity for us to score a point, which we just did by escape.
Okay.
So now Griffin is leading the match 1-0 because he was able to escape from the bottom.
So that's the smartness goes behind the scenes, because an idiot like me would have thought you never want to start down. You want to start always on top and seemingly in control, but sometimes it's little mind games involved. Right,
it becomes a chess game between the two wrestlers sometimes when they're this good and this even, and there's a lot of mat management, they call it, involved, and in order for you to get better as a wrestler, you have to evolve through the years, and like Hunter in the last match, he knew where he was on the edge of that mat, and he knew to keep his feet in bounds, and that's just from a lot of matches and learning your mat management.
When you have coaches with as much experience as both of these sides do, you're gonna get that, and I'm glad to see it out here.
Absolutely. We're in a minute left here in the second period, and Griffin's still winning 1-0 here. Neither wrestler's really taken any aggressive shots here because they don't want to get caught underneath or thrown to their back. It's more of a push-pull situation to see who can get the other off balance and maybe loosen them up for a shot in on the legs, or
looking for the opponent to make a mistake. Then you go out there and make a big play yourself, going for their takedown. If someone is getting on top, Griffin does have those long arms, I'm sure could easily get his hands around the neck of the other side, and
right,
that's easily pin someone.
A second ago there, the ref called a stalling call. Actually, not a stalling call, it was a stalemate call, which basically when neither wrestler is making progress in a certain position, he'll blow the whistle, call it dead, and start them fresh because they've both come to a stalemate, because each wrestler has to constantly be working for an advantage, and if they're not, they can be called for stalling or a stalemate.
Okay.
There's a pretty good shot there, but Griffin was able to get him up off his hips with his arms and keep him from getting the takedown, but as you can see, the Winnisquam wrestler is super aggressive, and he's not giving up on that shot. He's been in there deep a couple of times.
You can tell, you alluded to it earlier, conditioning is going to be huge, and both these guys, they're not slowing down out there. They may be even picking it up as this goes on.
They're working just as hard now as they were in the first period, and second period is going to come to an end. But see, the Winnisquam wrestler now has choice, and he's most likely going to take it down because he believes that's his best opportunity to score a point by escaping. Griffin is either going to have to keep him down for 2 minutes, turn him onto his back for some back points or a pin, or we're going to be back on our feet here in a second. And
great job to stay with it with Griffin right there.
Right, but in this position, Griffin at some point wants to decide that he doesn't want to give up 2 points, because If the individual reverses him completely, then he gets 2 points for it. If he escapes to his feet, he only gets 1 point. So you'll hear the coaches a lot of times saying 1, not 2. They're trying to tell their wrestler, don't give up a reversal, give up a stand-up and an escape first.
Yeah, and especially in a match right now where it's decided by 1 point, that it could be 3-1 at the end of this. You don't want to give it up.
Correct. This match could end in a 1-1 tie here. Hunter's got a bar here in the wrist, and he's trying to turn the individual, and it looks like he's going to be able to get him over for some back points here. And I'll tell you, this is an example right here of being in great shape, because you can see the Winnisquam wrestler at one point there was kind of getting a little bit gassed, and Griffin was able to turn him, so now he's got the 4-point advantage here with a minute left.
Yeah, so, that was a great move right there. For someone that doesn't watch a heck of a lot of wrestling, I could tell Griffin was definitely winning that position there, and with just a minute left, it's going to take quite a bit for this match to turn around.
Yeah, I mean, a takedown will only bring the match within 1 for the Winnisquam wrestler, so he's going to need to get busy here in 50 seconds left and get a takedown and possibly up some back points if he's going to win this match.
Griffin doing a great job using those long arms and that leverage. And
you see, that was a great call by the ref. He didn't let them stay in that position very long. He knows the intensity of this match and how close it is. And two good wrestlers. He called that stalemate very quickly, as he should. Get them back on their feet. Neither wrestler was gaining an advantage there.
And in that case, with time winding down, you could almost argue that Griffin has the advantage because he wants that clock to just tick away. And
yeah, I mean,
get that.
The ball is definitely in the Winnisquam wrestler's court at this point. He's got to get busy. He's got 20 seconds left, and he's going to need to try what they call a home run move, which is not only take him down but throw him to his back. And see, the Winnisquam wrestler took Griffin down for a takedown and then immediately tried to let him back up so that he could take him down again, but he never lost control, so the ref didn't give Griffin the escape point. So Griffin's going to come away with that 4-3 win there. It was a great match. That's the kind of match we expected tonight.
And that one was great right there. And at the end, it almost looked Griffin standing there as he's pulling him down. I thought for a second he might go down, again, which would be a big turnaround with just those 20 seconds left. But
that was a great match for a captain to go out at home against another really great wrestler. That's one he'll remember for the rest of his life. So
that's awesome to see out here on senior night. You have the senior going up in weight to go and take on a skilled fighter and coming away with the win. Let's see if things will continue. We have now Cole Johnson up on Cohen Boudreau. Correct.
And, Cole's a freshman wrestling for Randy. He actually wrestled a couple of years, I believe, I remember in the K-4 program. Was a talented wrestler. Took some time away from the sport, but he's back now as a freshman, and he was able to make the varsity lineup as a freshman, which is not always easy to do at Plymouth, and we expect big things out of him over the next 3 years after this.
It's always great to have the kids up at the varsity level as a freshman when you want to have them improve, because they're going up against the best talent, and that's the only way you're going to get better.
Right, and the thing with wrestling is you wrestle a weight appropriate opponent, but not always in the same grade. Cole as a freshman and some of these other freshmen in the lineup, they routinely go up against juniors and seniors that are in their weight class that have a lot more experience and have developed that 16 and 17-year-old muscle frame versus the 14 and 15-year-old muscle frame. So sometimes they can be a little outmatched as freshmen, but Randy prepares them well.
As long as you have that level head going in there, a heck of the preparation does matter, but it almost doesn't in some cases, because you can just outwork the other guy in the ring, and I'm sure you go out with a win sometimes and against someone who's definitely more skilled, bigger and stronger, faster, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and sometimes the older wrestler will overlook you, and think, I'm just wrestling a freshman tonight, and not realize that freshman's been wrestling since he was in first grade and has probably just as many matches under his belt. So, well, the first period's going to expire here, and Cole shot in deep on that leg, and Be nice to score some points here before this period ends, but just doesn't look like it's going to happen. Again, both wrestlers seem pretty evenly matched, and first period will end 0-0.
Yeah, another great one there, and that's also, I like how fast-paced this is. You're not waiting a heck of a lot of time in between matches, in between rounds. It's, buzzer beeps, get reset real quick, and, get right back after it.
Yeah, and the Bobcat style of wrestling that Randy and Todd have taught here is a very aggressive one, and, he preaches to them pre-match, like, get busy out there, work hard, be aggressive. The crowd wants to see you work hard. They want to see you get after it and wrestle tough, and so that's the style they teach and promote, and these kids come out and they're ready to go. It looks like Cole got an escape there, so now he leads the match 1-0.
And that's been a key thing here today, is Plymouth getting out early in these matches. And does that change the way that you're gonna hold yourself the rest of the match if you have a lead?
Yeah, it shouldn't. I mean, the coaches will preach not to coast. You get a lead, don't coast. That was a nice snatch by Cole there for another 2-point takedown, and now he's leading 3-0. But yeah, Randy will promotes and Todd for them to get busy all the time, and just because you have a lead, don't coast, because when you start coasting, you get caught, and the next thing you know, you're on your back bridge. And so he doesn't want them to coast. He wants them to wrestle aggressive the whole match, even with a win, and they're always working for the pin.
That's good to see, especially for the fans. You always want everyone going out there 100% as much as possible.
Right. Cole's got a bar and an arm here, which is kind of a signature series. We saw Griff do it earlier, and looks like Cole's going to get some near fall points here and possibly a pin here in the second period, which will be great win at home. There it is. Yeah.
And another pin for Plymouth, the second of the day. And what did you say that was, a bar arm? What was it called?
It was a bar arm and a wrist, and he walked it towards the head and across the shoulders and was able to turn the individual to his back, and once he got him there, he was able to secure the pin. So
it doesn't look very comfortable.
It's not very comfortable, but there are other moves that are even more uncomfortable than the bar and the wrist. But next up, we got Alex Hamill from Plymouth, who's a senior.
Right out the gates, these two are getting after it.
Yeah, right out of the gate, the Winnisquam wrestler took Alex down, but Alex with an arm whip there, and was able to a hook and roll, as they call it, get the immediate reversal. And Alex knows it's senior night, so he knows what's at stake here. You'll see him wrestle hard. Alex also had a couple of brothers that wrestled for Randy and Todd in the program and were state place winners a few years ago, and it's this is the third Hamill brother that Todd's had in the program and Randy's had in the program. So that's the other part of Plymouth wrestling, is that a lot of times it's sons and fathers' sons and grandsons that come through this program. You see the same names over and over again. There's a lot of tradition.
Something to say about those good genes. Sometimes you got them or you don't, and some of these guys you can tell they're just gifted athletes. You see brothers, sisters make it to the NBA and NFL, those big time sports in some cases, and a lot of high schools. It's kind of a theme. You have a brother or sister, you go through high school maybe 2 or 3 years apart, but they'll still be playing on the same teams, and it's always fun to play with a brother and sister on your team.
Right. This individual here from Winnisquam is a talented wrestler too, as you can see. I mean, he's ahead 3-2 against a senior from Plymouth who's been wrestling a long time, and he's very talented. This is going to be a great match. I suspect that conditioning will decide this one, and I do know that Alex has been out with an injury for a few weeks, so conditioning might be in question here tonight. But his talent will never be in question.
Yeah, and we're starting to see that now. After that, they came out so fast, so strong. After I was going to say they slowed down, and things picked right back up.
Right. So the Winnisquam wrestler was able to shoot in on that single, that double leg again, but Alex has got what's called a three-quarter Nelson in there, and he's trying to force his head down and throw in a whizzer across the other individual's arm, and both fighting up. And Alex is able to flip him for the 2-point takedown, but the Winnisquam wrestler slides right out the back door and gets the reversal back on Alex, and it's 5-4 in favor of Winnisquam.
And that will end the second of 3. So with 1 point still deciding things, Winnisquam leading right now, it's going to come down to these last 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's so far probably the most dynamic match we've seen so far. Both of these wrestlers trading places over and over again, and yeah, this will definitely come down to this last 2 minutes. And you know what? At the end of the day, in this sport, it comes down to who wants it more sometimes, and we're hoping that Alex is the one that wants it more here.
He's going to need everything in his power to not give up that release here and give up another point. You don't want things to get too separated with this little time remaining.
Right. Alex is trying to turn him here because he needs the back points to go ahead. He's got the cradle in, but he's over the top, what they say, a little bit too hard, too high. And although Alex was able to roll across his back, and he's actually getting back points in that cradle, I think the ref's going to award him 2 back points. We'll give him the lead with 1:20 left.
That's going to be huge right there. For a second, it looked like he might be the one ended up on his back when they were tumbling around down there.
Alex is pretty good about that. He'll cause your heart to jump to your throat and then drop back down just as quick, because he's kind of notorious for being unorthodox like that and kind of going against the grain and doing the opposite of what you want him to do, but he always seems to make it out on top, and that's what makes it so fun to watch him wrestle.
Heck, if he's doing something unorthodox, the other guy's not going to be expecting it, so it definitely works out in his favor.
Right. So we got a minute left here in this match, and it's a 1-point match. And Alex, again, able to win that scramble, throw him to his back, but he didn't get any back points awarded. Now he's got a half Nelson in, and the ref is going to call that for potentially dangerous, which was a good call. You could see the wrestler's shoulder was loaded across the body there, and perfectly legal move for Alex. A half Nelson is just the way the elbow came across the top of the head.
And hope he's going to be all right. And 46 seconds left. So in a position like that, they're going to call that 10 times out of 10.
Correct. Yeah, the ref's going to make the right call and do what's right for the athlete and make sure that they don't get injured. And if it was a situation where that was an unlawful move, and the wrestler couldn't continue because of it, then he would win the match and we would lose it. But Winnisquam young man showed some resilience there and some toughness, and I tell you, that's what this sport's all about. It's about toughness, and he just exemplified it right there.
Yeah, now, if he can go out and get this win, it's going to go a long way to giving his team some confidence. They still have yet to beat anyone on Plymouth.
Again, Alex is on top. He's trying to maintain that top position and not give up a reversal or even an escape, because if he gives up an escape here, it's a tied match. And, the Winnisquam wrestler was pretty good on his feet, He was pretty good on his feet. So, and Alex is still maintaining that position. He's still on top. He hasn't given up any points. If he can hold on here for 15 seconds, he's going to win a great match against another great wrestler.
He's got his legs in great position, too, not letting him get anything going.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to pull this win out, which is great for Alex being out on an injury for a couple of weeks and being able to come back on senior night and secure a win. That's a great job. As we've seen, though, we've had at least three matches here tonight that could have gone either way, and that's what I predicted at the beginning, and so far they've fell the Bobcats' way, which is good, and it's normally that way at home.
Yeah, you always get that little extra flair when mom and dad are watching, yelling out there on the mat for you.
Right. Now, the ref is at the center of the mat, and he's calling the athletes back out, so but I still see that Alex is ahead 6-5, So
why? Any idea as to why that might be out there?
We're in the third period now. We had misspoke earlier and thought we were in the third period. We're in it was only the second period. So these two athletes have 2 more minutes to battle it out. And Alex looks like he's going to get the reversal. and possibly some near fall points here, but he's got to watch his weight there. Yeah, that was a great reversal by Alex and right to the individual's back to get the back point. So now he's leading the match 8-5.
And it almost had him again right there.
It really looks to me like the Winnisquam wrestler is gassed, and this is where his endurance is coming into question. And Alex just keeps chugging away, and he was able to step across, and he's going to get some more back points here.
Yeah, you can tell with just the less movement the Winnisquam wrestlers do as he was in that first round. He was moving around like crazy, going all over the place, and he might have tired himself out in that first round.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a great match for Alex to come back after a 2-week hiatus or 3-week hiatus and show that he's still got some grit and endurance and beat a great wrestler at home and go out on senior night with a win.
Before I came here today, I was thinking, why do they only wrestle one time? But now I'm seeing how much work they're putting in each of these matches, and I understand why they only wrestle one time, because if you did two, you'd be completely done for the next week.
Plymouth forfeited at 182. We didn't have a young man at 182 tonight, so that gave Winnisquam their first 6 points of the match. Next up for Plymouth is senior captain Troy Johnson at 195, and it looks like his opponent is a Caden Milliard. Troy, again, has been wrestling since he was about 6 years old, and he's a very talented wrestler, very strong and aggressive, and I'm going to predict he'll make quick work of this match here.
He looks confident, and out here on senior night, you can tell he's got a great build to him. I'm excited to see this one right here.
Now the Winnisquam wrestler, I have watched him wrestle this year, and he's not going to shy away or back down. He's an aggressive wrestler, and I suspect he'll give 110%. But at the end of the day, Troy is just such a talented wrestler for the Bobcats that eventually I predict he'll wear him down. Great ankle pick off the whistle by Troy, and that's where those long arms come into play.
Yeah, he dove right down there so quick, and Winnisquam wrestler did do a good job not to just immediately go to the ground, but this is where your toughness gets tested.
Troy's got him in a cradle here, but he's right on that line, and his left foot went out of bounds there, and that's once one of his feet go out of bounds, they call him out, and now they got a fresh start in the middle.
Now, would you ever, if you're the fighter who's down on the outside, want to make the other person go out so that you restart in this position and then you can get a release point?
Oh, sure. If you're not in a good position yourself and you want to get a new start, absolutely it's to your advantage to try to get out of bounds. And you got to be careful, though, if you're on the bottom, or you're on your feet and the other individual's trying to take you down and you keep backing up and going out of bounds. They call it fleeing the mat. You can't flee the mat. You have to stay in the circle and wrestle. So you got to be careful. It's a fine line there. Troy's got him in that cradle again. Those long arms, and he looks like he's going to get it tightened up.
He's got one of his legs, too, which I'm sure makes it a heck of a lot harder to move around underneath.
Yep. The Winnisquam wrestler's fighting. He's not a quitter, and he was able to actually fight out of that, which is a testament.
Still grinding on the mat.
Looks like Troy was able to throw the half Nelson in and flip him over, and we get another pin out of another senior tonight on senior night.
And Plymouth dominating here, at least so far. Well, not so much dominating. These matches could go either way, but as far as wins and losses go, they're doing a great job out here.
It's hard for other teams to come to Plymouth and wrestle. The pride, the tradition, the style of wrestling that Plymouth brings to the mat, and the lights, the crowd, the whole thing. Good wrestlers come here and get beat by wrestlers that may not be quite as talented because they're kind of starstruck sometimes when they come here. So
it's all about that confidence that you have going in there, and definitely when those lights shine down, you find out what you're made of.
Next up, we got Tracy Cristiano from Plymouth, who's a first-year wrestler as a junior. He's a football player, and coaches were able to convince him to come out to wrestle the 220 class. It looks like he's going against Derek Tremblay from Winnisquam, and I do know that Tracy has lost to this wrestler already once this year, so again, this should be a good match.
It'll be interesting to see how he bounces back.
Yeah. He's a first-year wrestler for the Bobcats, and he's done a great job. He's done a great job.
Really using that muscle now.
He's trying. He's able to, you get up into these heavier weights sometimes, and it's hard for them to get off their backs because their opponent weighs so much, And
you have your own weight holding you down as well.
Correct. And so a lot of times it's whoever gets the other one to the mat first and on their back is probably going to pin the other individual. The Winnisquam wrestler was able to get the 2-point takedown there to go up 2-0. But, Cristiano, again, is battling hard here, and he's trying for that escape point before the end of the first period. And it looks like he's going to get it. He went for the brands there and missed it, kind of a swing and a miss like in baseball, and he found himself underneath again in bad position, and that's experience. That's experience,
Didn't lose any points on it, though, so maybe a little lucky there.
Looks like Tracy was able to pick a leg up and throw like a quasi brands, and he's got the Winnisquam opponent on his back. This will be a huge win for him after having lost to him. Oh, and the buzzer is going to cheat him out of a pin there.
Saved by the bell at its finest. After this, we're going to have an interview with either Coach Cleary or Coach Austin, and just wanted to let you all know now in the middle, so you don't go anywhere. When this meet ends out here at the end, we're going to have some more analysis of the teams for you guys.
Start of the second period, and they're on their feet here. Typically, this is a choice that these heavier weights make, is to go to their feet, because neither opponent wants to take the down position and get caught underneath. As we've talked about, the size and the weight of these wrestlers. So,
yeah, especially with a pin just ending the entire match.
The individual's going for the headlock there, and he's not going to get it. But Tracy can. And in this situation, Tracy would rather give up just a normal takedown rather than that headlock, because, as we saw with at the end of the first period, once you're on your back, it's going to be tough to get off with the size of these athletes.
Now, Tracy does have that lead 6-2 at the moment, but we saw earlier things can turn very quickly in these matches.
They certainly can. And I tell you, both wrestlers are wrestling hard. But Tracy was able to get his hips up there, and if he can spin around front, and he's got that brands again, it looks like he's going to be successful with it. And he's got the individual from Winnisquam on his back, and coaches, you can see they're over there telling him just to stay there, just stay there. You got the lead. The individual's got 40 seconds left in this match to get off his back, and hopefully he'll run out of steam and we'll get out a pin here.
And if you're on top here, is it safe to say you're using less energy than the person on bottom?
Absolutely. And it's a great time for Tracy to catch his breath a little bit. At some point, coach is gonna get after him to try and pressure that shoulder to the ground and try and go for the pin. Because as we've seen, it can go the other way pretty quickly, even with a big lead.
Some real resiliency to even keep your shoulder up off the ground this long.
Right. Tracy was kind of playing it safe there and just kind of holding that position too. He wasn't walking towards the head or trying to roll any of his weight forward in fear that he'd get re-rolled over to his back. So, he was kind of playing it safe, and for a first-year wrestler, that's probably a wise thing to do, and just stay in that position and tire the other opponent out. And
you don't want to get him too excited, because I feel, watching him up here, I feel like I could get too excited if I was about to pin someone. You get ahead of yourself, and then all of a sudden, heck, you're on the ground in a headlock, and the fight's turning completely the other way.
Right. Tracy's got a half Nelson in there, and it looks like he's going to get him turned, but maybe I spoke too soon. That Winnisquam wrestlers fighting it off hard.
Tracy working very hard. You can hear coaches yelling, "Get your hips up."
He did a great job at reaching across and doing what's called the reverse tight waist and flipping that Winnisquam opponent over. And now he's got him on his back again. And with 1:20, that's a long time to fight off your back. So again, I don't think the coach will pressure him to go after the pin here. He'll just tell him to take up residence there on top and hold him down. He's got a comfortable lead. The ref's holding 3 points in his right hand to award him once the move is over. So he'll have a 14-2 lead. There's no need to push it here.
And if you're the person on the ground in this position, what do you do? You should try to find that extra strength to try to get out of this? Or
yeah, I mean it's
luck.
Yep. Goes the pin. Tracy was able to finally wear him down. But yeah, if you're on bottom, you really want to try and at least show some fortitude and not give up the pin, but it's hard to do when someone's on top of you for 2 minutes like that.
I can imagine. I know I was giving up just watching that pin. It seemed hopeless at times.
We got Ethan Mcdonnell from Plymouth up next. He's a senior, but he's a first-year wrestler. Again, coaches were able to get him out to fill that spot. Ethan's done a great job for us this year. The heavyweight Todd Robinson from Winnisquam, though, is a super talented wrestler that's been around a while, and he's already been able to get the upper hand on Ethan a couple of times this year in some tournaments. So if Ethan was able to secure a win here, it'd be a big, big win for him.
Ethan, his momentum used against him on that position, got himself pulled down.
Right, the Winnisquam wrestler was able to kind of shuck him by, and now he's on top for trying to turn him here, and he's got the 2-point lead.
Ethan doing a good job of just like spreading out, getting bigger, making it very hard for his opponent to turn him.
Yeah, Ethan is a very strong kid. He actually competes in junior strongman competitions, as you can see by the size of his arms and his legs, and he's always in the weight room doing the Olympic weights and working on his goal to be a champion strongman competitor someday. He routinely competes in like the games up at Loon Mountain, when they have the competitions up there, and that's what he's hoping to do as he becomes an adult. And I think wrestling was great for him this year.
Right, definitely, it teaches you, a lot of those intangible things that you don't learn in the classroom. Respect and discipline, all that stuff, and it definitely helps him in the weight room too, because you have to be very disciplined if you want to be one of those strongmen. You got to be able to eat right, you got to be able to work out right, and live. It's a lifestyle. It's not just 1 or 2 hours a day. It's
correct.
Every day, 7 days a week.
And it looks like Robinson's able to turn Ethan here and get him onto his back. And again, there's 25 seconds left, but Ethan's not able to fight off that pin. And I've expected that at the beginning. Like I said, Ethan's done a great job for us. He's won a lot of matches for us this year. But the Winnisquam wrestler, Robinson, was just too much for him.
Yeah, and you can see that good. Now Winnisquam finally got their first win of the day. And I'm looking up at the score for the team score. It looks like 33-12. And is this out of hand now, or is Plymouth going to keep that on?
I feel as though we're in a comfortable lead, but you never know, But we still have some of our best wrestlers to come in the lighter to middleweight. So now we've got Charlie Como at 106 against Michael Mitchell from Winnisquam. Both talented, both great scramblers, both very aggressive. They've wrestled a couple times this year, and Charlie's been able to get the upper hand, but they've been really great, exciting matches. So
you can see both of them right now just feeling the other one out, trying to find that little opening. And for a second, looked like Charlie thought he had it, waited, hesitated, and definitely played to his advantage here as he's pulling it to a half Nelson, maybe. Did I get that right?
Yes. It looks like Charlie had the brands in there, and then he was able to do what's called a twister and go the other way with it, and get the other opponent onto his back here. This would be a surprising first period pin here in this match. But again, you come to Plymouth, and it's tough to wrestle here under this light against these kids in front of their home crowd,
Especially after you just saw all your teammates go through and lose, and a great win there for Charlie, and another pin for Plymouth. Now 39-12.
Yeah, that was a great first period win for Charlie there. It was unexpected, like I said. Charlie's gotten the upper hand on him a couple times, but I didn't expect the first period pin out of him. But he did a great job there. And again, I keep reiterating it, but it's the truth. It's hard to come to Plymouth and wrestle. These kids are always ready to go. And I'd say at this point, 45-12. The match is probably in hand here. We've got some of our best wrestlers to come. Joe Cleary coming up and J.C. Gama. And these kids are great, exciting wrestlers. So
don't go anywhere. We're going to see some of the most exciting matches still to come.
Here we've got James Philbin from Plymouth at the 120-pound weight class. And he's wrestling Hunter Finmore. And again, Finemore's been around a while. He's a great wrestler. Philbin is only a first or a second year wrestler for us. Done a great job at the 120-pound weight class for us. He's won some matches, and he's what we call a steady Eddie. He's got a motor, and Coach Randy will often talk about it, is that he's not the most aggressive. He's not the best technician on the team, but he's got a motor. And he just never quits and never stops going.
And sometimes that is often the difference. If you got a guy that's just going on the other side of you, it's going to wear down your confidence sometimes if you're thinking, wow, I'm really tired. But this guy, he's still going the same way he was in that first round.
He wins a lot of matches by a point just by winning these little scrambles like this. The Winnisquam wrestler's in on his leg. He was able to stuff the head, and he's picked the ankle there. He's hoping to spin behind for the 2. You see the ref called the stalemate there, which was a good call. Neither wrestler was making any progress. So.
And now, when you're getting someone down in a position like that and you're on top, you're thinking 1 step ahead, 2 steps ahead, or how far are you thinking ahead of yourself?
Well, it's sort of like a dance, You have a game plan usually, and if you've wrestled that individual before, you might know their tendencies or some of their go-to moves. But really, wrestling is about being able to put together a series of moves in combination that are in response to what the other wrestler is doing. And there's moves defensively and offensively for every position you're in on the mat. And the person that can put those moves together the quickest and the smoothest usually can come out on top,
Yeah, so if you're down in a position you don't know how to get out of it, it doesn't matter how strong you are, how quick you are. You're pretty much, you're stuck there, and
right.
That's definitely something to think about, because your mind can race, and you'll definitely forget things when you're down on the mat that you've drilled in your head, and that goes back to the coaching for this Plymouth team, and they've drilled these guys. They know exactly what to do, and we're seeing that out here on display today.
Correct. In practice, they drill very hard. They practice very hard, and Randy tries to prepare them for match. Make them match ready in the wrestling room, and it's proven. Whether it's with your military or your police personnel or whatever, that in a time of high stress, you're going to go resort back to your training, and that's the same with the athletes. And if you train hard and you work hard in the room, then when you're out there, a lot of times you don't even think about it. You just do it. It just comes natural.
It's still very close. It's, the Winnisquam wrestler up 2-1 at the moment.
He is, and I believe this is the second period, and Fillmore's been able to ride him out here for at least a minute. Because, like I said, Fillmore's stingy. He's got a motor. He never quits. He keeps going, and he wears these opponents down sometimes. And the other thing I really like about him is that in wrestling, sometimes you can get caught up in the mental game, and you know who your opponent is, and you may know that he's a previous place winner or state champion or New England champion, or he's accomplished this or that. And sometimes it kind of gets in these kids' head, like, oh, I got to wrestle this guy. This Fillmore kid, it doesn't bother him. He doesn't think like that. He doesn't care who he's wrestling, and that's good, because in this sport, you've got to go out there every time with a clean mind and with the attitude that I'm going to win no matter what, and he does that. And he surprises good wrestlers. We were down in Wyndham a couple of weeks ago, and he went up against a Meet of Champions champion at 120 last year, and before we knew it, Fillmore had him on his back and almost pinned him. It was great. He lost the match, but it was in his mind he didn't care who the kid was.
Yeah, that's always good to see. Just give him the weight. Don't tell him the name. Don't give him a face or anything to work with. Just say, hey, you're going to this time. Be ready, and he's going to step up and be there. And putting that on display here today with a very close match. 19 seconds remaining in the second leg.
Yeah, he's rode him for almost 2 minutes here, and the Winnisquam opponent unable to get the escape point or a reversal point here, and that puts Fillmore in a pretty good position and going into the third period. I'm assuming we'll have choice here, and we'll probably go down and try and get that escape point to tie this matchup.
And then from there, it's anyone's ball game, and very excited to see how that is going to go. Coming up on the third period now, and pretty good turnout here today for this meet. We got both sides of the bleachers, with quite a few people here in attendance.
Yeah, you see a lot of alumni in the room. At least I recognize them, obviously, being involved in the program for so long. It's good to see, and that's the other thing, is the alumni. The Winnisquam opponent was able to keep Fillmore down, and not only that, but turn him to his back for 2 points, which that's huge for him. Huge. Now he takes a 4-1 lead with 1:40 in the third period.
Triples his lead in this match right now, and he's going to be feeling all the confidence in the world. But it's still definitely not over. You get out of this with a release right here. You get 1 point back, and then all it takes is a takedown to to tie this thing right back up.
Correct. And Fillmore won't quit. Like I said, he'll keep chugging away here, and if he doesn't score more points, I'll be surprised. Back to the alumni. I see across the room there. Armani Minguera is a state finalist for Randy and Todd, and Donald Hunter, state finalist a couple times. The Hamill brothers are over there, both state finalists a couple times. It's great to see those kids come back time and time again to support their team and cheer on the younger wrestlers that are keeping that pride and tradition alive here.
Yeah, it's always good to see that tradition continue, and I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. Plymouth has made its mark on New Hampshire wrestling, and it's definitely not going to change this year.
Yeah, especially seeing those little guys running around on the mat earlier, Looks like we're going to get the 2 points here for the takedown, and Fillmore's going to get back points. And like I said, he doesn't quit. He's got a motor that never stops running, and he's going to do some great things for the Bobcats. And down going into the third period, he was able to come out, went down even more, a 4-1 lead, and then didn't get excited, didn't worry, and came back with the pin.
That's how you keep a level head. You can see his teammates fired up after that come from behind victory. Great job there. I don't want to say write anyone off, but I did not think things were looking too well for him. Down a couple points, and he proved me wrong. All congrats to him.
Next up is Joe Cleary. This is Randy's son, and he's a very exciting wrestler, very talented. He's a fast wrestler, I call it. He loves to get in scrambles, and he's good with his hips. He puts himself in good position, and he'll win 99% of these scrambles that he gets into because he does have good hips. He does put himself in good position.
His feet keep moving, too. He's dancing around the other wrestler at times. It looks like he's spinning him around, getting him off balance.
I believe this is Kenzie Burgess, and Joe was able to throw a headlock there, which isn't necessarily a signature move that Randy likes to see him do, but Joey likes it, and he's been pretty successful at it, and he's going to get a quick pin here.
Easy there, seemingly. It looks easy when it goes that fast. I know it's definitely not easy per se, but making quick work on that one.
Yeah, Joey's a sophomore. He's been wrestling since he was a first grader, and he's been around a while. And again, last year was a Division III state champion as a freshman. Finished 6th at the Meet of Champions, I believe, and he's going to be a force to reckon with for 2 more years after this year. So
maybe college too.
Exactly, yeah. Opponents coming here They're not going to look forward to wrestling Joe Cleary ever.
Maybe eat a couple more meals at dinner time and stay out of his weight class?
Exactly, or pull the weight and go down below him, one or the other. But next up we got J.C. Gama, and J.C.'s also a sophomore. Been wrestling since he was in middle school. He's an aggressive wrestler. He's very strong. And again, JC's another one of those wrestlers that we say has a motor. You know, he keeps grinding and keeps grinding and doesn't seem to slow his pace throughout the course of the match.
I keep going back to that motor. I'm trying to think of other sports where I hear motor. And the one that keeps popping in my mind is soccer, because they're running around for 90 minutes. But out here, they're only out here for, a total of 6. But this is high-intensity stuff. You're working all your muscles, doing everything. You have to be conditioned in every sense of the word to be able to compete in these matches.
Yeah, I mean, you're having to provide oxygen to every muscle in your body from, your fingertips down to your toe tips. And you'd be surprised at how high your heart rate can get and how fatigued you can actually get in a wrestling match in just 6 minutes, like you said. There's very little downtime in that 6 minutes.
Yeah, well, not if you're. I mean, if you're getting pinned, you might be down for 2 seconds, right? But yeah, definitely not. These guys, it's impressive to see, nonstop, just pushing back and forth at each other.
This looks like it's Mark Southerden from Winnisquam here, and he seems to be a very physical wrestler as well, like JC. But a great move there. JC had a front headlock, and he started to move his opponent one way to get his momentum going that way, and then he performed what's called a shuck, and shucked the individual right by and was able to spin around for the 2 points. 14 seconds left. That's great. Great scoring opportunity there to get ahead 2-0.
I got to make sure he doesn't let him out on this hold here with just 14 on the clock. Nine seconds. Now we'll end the first period and a 2-0 lead. And still, these Plymouth wrestlers are put on a great show out here for senior night.
Yeah, JC had won the toss there, but he deferred to the Winnisquam opponent. And the Winnisquam opponent has chosen neutral as the position he wants to be in. He must feel confident that he can get a 2-point takedown versus escaping from the bottom.
We'll see if that strategy does pay off right now. Nearly went for a front leg there.
JC in deep on that single leg there. It was a single leg snatch, but he wasn't able to secure it and bring the individual to the mat there.
Now, when you get that single leg, there's a couple things you can do with that, right? You can sweep out the bottom leg of the other wrestler. What else would you do with that? Because that's all I can really think of.
Yeah, you can secure a really good grip with both arms around the thigh area and pinch the ankle between your legs, and then you can perform what's called a dump, which is to swing your momentum towards their buttocks, and it will cause them to lose balance and fall to the mat on their butt. You can also reach down with your other hand and grab the ankle and bring the leg all the way up in front of you and then trip the back leg. The less weight they have on that leg that is standing, the easier it is for you to sweep them. JC got another 2-point takedown there to go up 4-0 with 50 seconds left in the second. So far, he seems to be in control of this match. It doesn't seem like it's out of hand for him.
Yeah, he's not letting up, not giving any room for his opponent to make a move and try to get back in this match. Doing a great job of just controlling things.
Ref called him out of bounds there, and now they'll get a fresh start in the center of the mat.
32 seconds remaining in the second leg of this match.
I heard Coach Cleary telling them to reach up and grab the chin. He wants them to reach around with the right hand and grab the individual's chin. He's got the bar arm on the other side and then pull him to his back, and that's exactly what JC's doing. he's listening to his coach over there who knows what he's talking about. He's been doing this for 30 years between coaching at Plymouth State University and winning a couple of New England championships with them, and then fortunately for the Plymouth community coming here and taking up residency and being our varsity wrestling coach for 20 plus years.
That's good to see. Is it hard to hear what are those things that are on there? The earmuff things? Or?
Yeah, they're headgear. It's designed to protect the ears. Wrestlers, if they wrestle without headgear, they'll develop what's called cauliflower ear, which is, you bang the cartilage on the ear hard enough, it splits, and then when it repairs itself, it splits, and it looks like cauliflower. It becomes bumpy and awkward, and it's kind of a rite of passage for some wrestlers. They feel necessary to develop cauliflower ear because they kind of walk around the rest of their life and everybody knows they were a wrestler. But I know a lot of moms out there, including my wife, who's pretty insistent that they wear their headgear and protect their ears. So
yeah, you can see it pretty much. I think everyone out here is wearing them today, and I don't think that's going to change. I think we're going to see probably more people go towards those headgears as time goes by, and sports in general try to get more safe, protect these athletes. The last thing you want to see is someone get any kind of injury that is going to hurt them in years to come.
Yeah, the headgear is mandatory during matches anyway. It's usually in the wrestling room where it's not that they develop that cauliflower ear. JC's up 9-0 here in the third period. He's well in command. He actually is being called for locking hands, which is surprising for a wrestler of his experience. He knows he can't lock his hands from the top position unless he's in a pinning combination, and he wasn't in a pinning combination, so he's given the other wrestler a free point there, which in some matches can be the difference.
The other wrestler, that's why he had his hands up, trying to let the ref know what was going on.
Right, and JC had his hands locked around the individual's waist, and you can't do that. And like I said, only if you've got him in a pinning combination. And I know, like this weekend at the Concord Invitational wrestling tournament at the 106-pound weight class, the finals match was decided by 1 point. It was a 1-0 match. It was a Concord wrestler and a Central Catholic wrestler, and it was because the Concord wrestler had locked his hands in the second period, and the other opponent was awarded the point for the illegal move, and he ultimately lost that match 1-0, and not one offense or defensive point was scored in that match. So That's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I can only imagine that. It's going to be definitely one of the ways you don't want to lose. And, if you win, you'll take a win, I'm sure. Any way you can get it. But, man, that is a tough one to drop in that fashion.
Time's going to run out here. Looks like 10 seconds left. And looks like JC's 9-1. But ref just called him for stalling. He called him for covering the other individual's hips.
Quick explanation of the rules, and we're back underway.
Not sure I agree with the call, and JC definitely is covering the hips, but he's got the hand secured. He's trying to put in that bar arm so he can turn the individual. So he was working towards trying to score more points, but sometimes the ref sees it one way, and of course coaches always tend to see it the opposite that the ref sees it, especially when it goes against them there, But JC comes up with the win there anyway. So
seen some coaches argue far worse calls than that one there. Winnisquam's got to rally here. They need to get some kind of another win at least for their confidence. You don't want to go back only having winning one out of all these matches here today.
We got Joe Collett up next, a senior and wrestling on senior night, and Joe nursing a shoulder injury most of the season, which kind of prohibited him from competing, but he's semi-healthy now. He's back and he's able to wrestle on senior night, which is great.
Yeah, you use those shoulders quite a bit. I can see why he wouldn't want to be out here wrestling. You're putting so much weight, both ways in your shoulders, moving your arms all kinds of ways, and especially if you get caught in one of those positions down low, if someone's pulling on your arm, that cannot feel very good.
Right. Looks like he's wrestling Bo Rigoli from Winnisquam.
Nice spinning around right there.
Yeah, that was kind of a defensive takedown. The Winnisquam opponent had shot in and was able to get his leg, and Joe was able to get the 2-point takedown, and now he's got him in a cradle, and that's tight. Just like that, he's got the pin, and it really does look like with one match left, there's a potential here that Plymouth is going to run the gamut on Winnisquam, which is surprising, but it's encouraging going into the state meet only 3 weeks away, and Winnisquam being one of our opponents, our rivals. It's good to see that we won those matches that we needed to win,
and now this being the final match, who do you think we're going to see out here for?
I actually think this is going to be an exhibition match, as they call it. I think the regular meet is over, and now each team has a couple of JVs, and they're going to try and match them up and get them some wrestling matches. I think Joe D'Ambrusso's lined up over there for Plymouth. Joey's a freshman, first-year wrestler. He's an athlete, strong, he's fast. He's a great football player. He plays football here for Plymouth High School. A little undersized for the linebacker position, but you wouldn't know it by the level of play. He's a very aggressive kid, and he's gonna. You'll hear that name, Joe D'Ambrusso, some more in the next 3 years, whether it's football or wrestling. You'll hear his name. So
it's good to hear. Good to know we got some more, young athletes in this Plymouth program that we're going to, be expecting big things out of, and I think they're going to deliver. We got, great staffs all the way up and down coaching these teams, and it really shows with the talent that you get to see out there on display.
And this young man, I believe, is from maybe from Belmont. I think he's a what they call an independent wrestler, and he probably practices with Winnisquam, but he's the only wrestler from his school. That's what it looks like. So this is definitely an exhibition match.
And yeah, I never even thought about that. There's definitely some schools that don't have this program, and they've got great wrestlers who maybe wrestled all the way up through, 8th grade, and then where do they go? They just go to the nearest school and do this kind of
They
thing?
can practice with the nearest school, but they can't compete for them. So this actually is not Joe D'Ambrusso. It's Ezra Laterno. Again, Ezra's a freshman, first-year wrestler. At the beginning of the year, he couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time, as they say. And he's definitely turned that around. He's been fun to watch. And he went down to the freshman states a couple of weeks ago and placed. And again, he's going to be one to watch, regardless of the outcome of this match.
Would you ever advise wrestling and chewing gum at the same time?
No. You end up, chomping through your tongue or something. and that's, we all know biting your tongue is a lot like stubbing your toe. So.
Two going at it. Still just about a minute remaining in the first.
Randy and Todd are they're notorious for taking kids who come out as freshmen. They didn't take advantage of the K through 4 program or the 5th through 8th program, and they come out as freshmen and decide they want to start wrestling. And in 4 years, they make them state champions. It's amazing transformation. With some of these kids, and they always say, "I wish I had started younger. Like I can't believe I waited this long to do this." And Randy's got letters upon letters in his office from young men who didn't want to wrestle and were scared and were intimidated by it. And then by the time they were seniors, it was the greatest experience of their life. And that's the best testament to a coach.
Yeah, when you get those people to come back and tell you the stories, that's when if you can affect just one person, then you did your job, and when you can do more than that, it's really something special.
The other thing this sport does is it builds character, obviously. It builds a lot of character, a lot of resilience, and it teaches you a lot about yourself. It teaches how far you can actually take your body, because, we all know that the mind's going to quit a lot sooner than the body will quit, and this sport definitely shows you how far you can push yourself physically and mentally, and between the weight management for your weight class, the grueling practices and the long season, the stress of warming up and wondering about how good your opponent's going to be, and worrying about letting your coach, your teammates down, and then getting out there and actually having to go through a grueling 6-minute match. It's a tough sport, but I'll tell you, it builds a lot of character in the end.
It's really exciting to watch. I didn't really know what to expect when I showed up here today. And, I mean, I've been impressed by all these guys, and I want to thank you for telling me what's going on out here, explaining all the rules. Cause
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity tonight, and it's been fun, and, you know, I enjoy these kids and coaching with Randy and Todd and the other student coaches he has over there. You know, that's the other piece of this program that, you know, they attract a lot of young men that go to the university down here that wrestled in New Hampshire, mostly for other teams that no longer compete but want to be part of a wrestling program. And every year we get 3 or 4 young men that come up and wrestle with our kids and help coach. And, you know, we're the adults, and a lot of times these kids, they just get tired of listening to us, you know. And but when it's a peer that's just a few years older than them, that they saw wrestle themselves and saw them have success, you know, it helps. And, you know, this year we've got a young man from Mass that's helping us out, and then 2 from Timberlane Regional High School, which, if you're a wrestling fan in the state of New Hampshire, you know that Timberlane Wrestling is the most dominant wrestling program in the state, and it has been for about 15 years. So to have those 2 in the room influence our wrestlers is great, and we can't thank them enough.
I can tell they're some of the most animated over on that sideline when, you know, the kids are about to get a pin or, you know, about to get pinned. They're up there yelling almost louder than the head coach at times, and it's going to be great for the confidence of these guys. Second period, second leg all set, and we're coming on the third and final.
And Ezra's losing 4-0 here, but he's fighting hard. He's putting on a good match. You know, it's clear to me the other wrestlers been wrestling a little longer. It looks like he's got a little better skill set. May even be a little bigger. He seems a little bit heavier, but, you know, Ezra's going to get called there for locking hands. He locked his hands around the other wrestler's waist, and so the other wrestler is going to get the 2-point reversal, plus the near fall points here, plus the point for the illegal move. And it looks like he's probably going to secure a pin here with 1:30 left in the third period. It's hard to fight off your back for that period of time, and that's where it ends, right there.
And what muscle you're using? You're using somewhere in your back, a very muscle that you probably don't use a heck of a lot other than when you're getting pinned down, right?
Right, exactly. So, and you know, they practice bridging in practice to try and exercise those muscles and build them up and make them stronger. But, you know, it's a lot easier than it's not as easy as it looks, I should say. So, all right, next up.
It doesn't look very easy to me.
Next up, we do have Joe D'Ambruso. And it, again, looks like he's wrestling an exhibition match. It looks like he's a little outsized here.
Yeah, definitely does not have a height advantage out here.
Yeah, and sometimes that's what happens is when we match up these JV wrestlers, you know, they don't always weigh the same. You know, they don't have to necessarily because it's not the varsity match, but we want them to get a match. So this young man could be 10 pounds heavier than Joe, which I'm going to guess he probably is. But you know what? We're okay with that. You know, we want them to get a match in, and we know that their wrestler is probably inexperienced like our wrestler is, so it's not like that size advantage will be a huge part in the outcome of this match.
You know, no harm, no foul. It is an exhibition. It's not going to affect the overall scenario. It's just really helpful for both sides, and that's great to see for competition and building these programs.
Joe's down 2-0 here. He gave up a takedown. Nice switch there, but if he could just get behind to secure the 2 points, and he's got that front headlock now. He's got to get his legs back. See, the other individual keeps reaching in and grabbing that leg. But Joey's going to run that brands. If he can get him turned here, that could be the difference in this match, and he does. Joe D'Ambruso gets him turned and in that brands move. And like I said, this is an individual that's only been wrestling for 2 months, and look at his technique and his tenacity and able to learn the moves in a quick fashion. And you know, Joe's one of those kids we wish had started in first grade. You know, he's going to get the pin there. That was a great match. Great match.
Great job. He was smaller, but I think he used that to his advantage there. You know, sometimes it's easier to make those quick movements, those subtle movements, and play to his advantage, and that will do it for this meet today. Any final thoughts after a big win for Plymouth?
Yeah, that was a great win, and it leads us into next week. We've got a busy week. We've got Bow coming up down in Bow on Tuesday night. Bow is undefeated as we are. They put a score on Winnisquam similar to ours. it's going to be an exciting night, and it was good to see us come out and wrestle solid tonight, get some great matches in, get our confidence up going into that, because the winner of that will be the Division III dual meet state champions, and Randy has claimed that title for quite a few years, and I think we're last year's dual meet state champion, so we want to keep that streak alive. And it was good to see us wrestle well tonight, and we'll practice hard. This Saturday we have a invitational tournament here that we're hosting. There'll be 12 or 14 teams wrestling. We'll place the top 3 wrestlers in each weight class. It'll be an all-day event, so anybody out there that wants to come see some wrestling and interested in the sport, it's right here in Plymouth on Saturday. So
sounds good. Definitely going to be an exciting time. Looking forward to hopefully a lot of back and forth action like we had today with very, very close matches. We do have an interview coming up with one of the head coaches, and we'll get that to you guys in just a moment. I'm here with Todd Austin, assistant coach of Plymouth, and great job today, guys. You went out and got the win. Any matches in particular stick out to you?
Yeah, we've been working hard. We knew Winnisquam was going to be tough. Tracy Cristiano at 220 really stuck out. We actually pulled him out of driver's ed class to get him here so he could wrestle and pinned a kid who had previously pinned him. So that was a good match tonight. But everybody wrestled tough and working hard. So.
And it was pretty much you guys won all but I think it was one match today. And how does that confidence build up for next week when you guys go and take on Bo?
Yeah, Bo, we expect them to be tough. We just keep working hard, and as the year goes on, we kind of ramp things up. Our focus is always at the end of the year on the state tournaments. So that's how we do it. And by the end of the year, we hope to be wrestling our best, and that's what we hope next week against Bo.
And it was senior night tonight, and I want to end on a final question about the seniors and how much have they affected this program in these 4 years or sometimes less than that these guys have been here.
Yeah, the seniors, they're always the foundation of your team. These guys have been great at that. Before we've won 2 state championships with these guys, and they're always there leading the team. They help everybody get warmed up, and we look to them to really lead all the younger kids when Coach and I aren't around, and they've all done a great job. We got some alumni that were in that position a few years ago. It's always good to see them come back, and next year we hope they step up as well.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Thanks for talking to me, and thanks for coaching this team. You guys did great today, and good luck with the rest of the season.
All right, thank you very much.